Hello, this is Sean Gaffney with another quick hit. I've been thinking about humor. Today I was reading an article about how China is cracking down on stand-up comics because they're making fun of the military and they can't handle being fun of the military. There's a lot I want to say about that, but one thing that has also been kind of fresh in my mind is thinking about, well, what is funny, what isn't funny in unacceptable humor, like making fun of the Chinese army. I've been watching the show Benson. I've been revisiting that show. There's a lot of humor on the show that would not fly today. Some of it I think is goodly used, and some of it is not goodly used, depending on not what the joke is or what the joke makes fun of, because I do think that you can probably make fun of just about anything, but are you making fun of to what truth? We think that humor is funny if we believe the truth of it. So one example from Benson that is a joke that would not fly today, but I think is actually a good use, happens in the pilot when Benson is first coming in. Benson is played by Robert Guillaume, a African-American man. He's visiting on that day. They know that it's him. They recognize it's him because there's only two black people visiting. One is going to be the Reverend Jesse Jackson, and of course, nobody would ever confuse Benson with Reverend Jackson. And then the joke is when the governor meets him, the governor's like, hey, he needs no introduction. I'd recognize the Reverend Jackson anywhere, and thinks that Benson is the Reverend Jackson. It is funny because the joke of it is what a buffoon the governor is to think that any two black men automatically must look alike, you cannot tell them apart. The joke is making fun of the buffoonery of racism. Now, in the same series, just a few episodes later, and again, it actually crops up several times, there's another running gag that was common at the time, where a male character, sexually tries to force himself onto a female character. She has to fend him off, and they make that a joke. It's kind of funny in the retelling. It's like, oh my goodness, I was sitting up front, and he kept putting his hands on me, and they laugh, but they're still friends, because the joke there is it's a recognition joke. It's like, oh, all men are supposed to be pushing themselves on women, and all women just, have to kind of, fight it off. And isn't that funny? Because that's the norm. That's the acceptable. And that's where the distinction comes. I think the second type of joke is actually a negative joke. It's a harmful joke. It's a joke that hurts our society because it helps to normalize something that should not be normalized. Whereas the first joke is making fun of the fact that there is something potentially normalized in our society that should not be normalized, and we are making fun of it by pointing out it should not be normalized. So how you tell the humor, it isn't what is the subject of the humor, it's what is the story that the humor is telling. What is it that makes it funny for us? Is it funny because it is advancing us, because it is challenging us, or is it funny because it's normalizing something that is actually detrimental to us? So something to be thinking about. I'll be talking more about humor as we go. This has been Sean Gaffney with another quick hit.